Hey everybody, it's Dan, your friendly fishmonger from dansfish.com. Today we're going to take a look at an amazing tiny little nano fish, but a gem. An absolute beauty. It's the black tiger Dario, very closely related to the scarlet batis, Dario. But this is a new species that, as far as I know, has yet to be described scientifically. It's unique, it's gorgeous, and let's take a look. Alright, here they are. The first thing I want to talk to you about is sexing this fish. They can be difficult to sex, just like Dario, and oftentimes folks really want females because they want to try to breed this fish, and what is sent to them is a male, which is subdominant. So I want to show you kind of the difference in the sexes if I can. It can be a little tricky, but what I've been showing you now is a dominant male. This is the same fish, still a dominant male. He owns that black pipe section over there. He's not in his sparring dress or his nuptial dress. He'll get a lot darker on the front half, kind of head section of the body. That'll turn almost black. And his reds will come in really stark contrast with the lighter parts, stripes on his body when he's in his nuptial dress or sparring dress. But you can tell this is a male. It's very clear. He's got his red stripes. He's got a bold, dark pattern on the kind of front third, I guess, of the body. A lot of color on him, a lot of iridescence. That right there, I believe, is a female out in front. We'll get to her in a second. But the thing that's tricky about sexing these is you have these very obvious males like this, but then you also have subdominant males. So these are what I believe are subdominant males. I'm not sure that these are females. Often when you buy these fish, or Dario, the scarlet batis, you'll be sent a fish like this as the female, only to discover later that it is in fact a male. So I'm not an expert on this. Someone might be able to tell me differently, but I believe these are males because I still see that dark spot up on the dorsal fin, towards the front of the dorsal fin. I see that, and I have a feeling that if these guys were higher up in the hierarchy, that they would color up into males. There's also some of that vertical patterning on them, and I've seen lots of websites that show fish like this as females. There, with that little flare, you could see the dark spot at the front of the dorsal fin really easily. Anyway, I've seen lots of websites that say they're easy to sex, these are females, but I really suspect that these are in fact males because they still have that dark spot towards the front of the dorsal fin. I think that's a female coming in towards the back there. And then the subdominant males also, they have quite a bit of iridescence on their ventral fins. And so, you know, it's really kind of difficult to know for sure what you're getting. This fish, I believe, is a female. She lacks the dark spot up at the front of her dorsal fin. Her pelvic fins don't have iridescence, and she's a little bit kind of bulkier in the body, a little stubbier looking, if you will. Whereas that fish down below there, you can see that kind of iridescent on dark spot on the front of the dorsal. It's about to disappear, but that I believe is a subdominant male. Here's another one that'll let you guys guess. Just take a second, tell me what you think this is. I think that's a male. There's some black in the ventral fins. That's a female, I believe, in the front, and a male following her. The subdominant males, you'll see some black in the ventral fins and just that dorsal. So this, I believe the one on the right here is a female. I don't see any black. I don't see any iridescence. She's a little chunkier looking, and her ventral fins are not black. And this one here, I believe, is probably a female as well. Pretty, you know, the body doesn't have much striping at all. This is just a picture of them eating because it's fun. So a little bit of video, of them eating. But that's a subdominant male there that we started the video with, and that's a subdominant male down below as well. So that's my best guess on how to sex these guys. So here we have a male to the right, which is, you know, fairly dominant. He's got some color, so he's feeling a little ways up there in the hierarchy. And then this fish to the right here, I believe, is probably a female. Just looking at how her fins don't have extensions on them, and how she lacks that color. So anyway, that's my best guess. I'm not an expert by any means, and I've been fooled a few times with other species like Dario, where I swore I had a female, and nope, turned out colored up into a male eventually. So I just want you to know that if you buy these fish, give the seller a little break. They'll try to sex them for you, but it's very difficult because males that are subdominant look very, very much like a female. And when you're in there with the net trying to catch them and they're running all around and they color down because the net's in the water and all that, then you can have real trouble getting accurate sex ratios. So anyway, if you order these and you want a pair, let me know and I will try my best. But you got to understand that it's a guess, so I don't guarantee pairs on these. I do my very, very best, but I just can't guarantee it. As far as now let's talk about some other things besides sexing. Again, this is, I believe, a female that just got covered by the male there. I believe that's a female in between these two. While we look down from overhead, let me just talk about the species in other aspects, care and such. These guys are from Myanmar, and they don't need it super warm. In fact, 60 degrees on up to the mid-70s is kind of their temperature range. Low to mid-70s for long-term maintenance, and for breeding is just great. 75 degrees is great for them for breeding. They're small. They're a nano species. I've read that they can get over an inch, but I've never seen this fish over an inch. In fact, the ones I have, I would say, are about 3/4 of an inch at this time. These guys are fairly new to the hobby. They first became available in 2005, and there's been some confusion about if they're own species or if they're a color morph of a different species. The official word seems to be that they're a color variation of Dario Hysignon, but they have some differences that make a lot of people still question that. They get bigger, and they live in the same habitats with Dario Hysignon, and they don't interbreed. Apparently, from what I've read, and I've not tried it, but apparently if you put both species in an aquarium, they will not hybridize. At least that's what I've read. And so that all makes folks think, I don't know, maybe they're not the same species. So there's still a little bit of question on that. They're micro predators, and what that means for you and me keeping them in the aquarium is they're very slow feeders. So they will get outcompeted easily by other fish. Now I have them in here with exclamation point rasboras, which is a Boraris species, with some Siamese algae eaters, with a couple little lamp-eye killifish, a little group of those guys that live up on the top of the aquarium, and some albino corridores, and they all get along fine. But this is a fairly large tank, and it's got a whole bunch of Java moss covering about half the bottom of the aquarium. This is a 75-gallon aquarium. And so what ends up happening is the black tiger Darios hang down in the Java moss. And by the way, observing them is fine. It's not like they're always hiding. They just swim around through it, or they stay a couple inches above it sometimes. But they kind of stay in that area. And then the exclamation point rasboras kind of swim mid-water, more or less. The little killifish are at the top, and then the cories tend to swim around on the bottom, but in the half of the tank that doesn't have Java moss usually. And so it's easy in a tank this size with those species to feed enough food that the black tiger Dario can get to it. But you do have to be really careful. Most other fish will outcompete them for food. They'll get to the food really quick, and then there's nothing left for the little black tiger Darios to eat. So be aware of that if you're going to get some. They're not ideal with fast community fish like barbs or danios or a lot of the tetras and things. They're very peaceful, and I would say they would go well with almost any other species as long as it's small and won't outcompete them for food. So that's kind of where I would draw the line on what can go with them. Now, feeding these guys as a micropredator, they key into living food basically. So I've not had a lot of success getting these to eat flakes or pellets or anything like that. They much prefer live food or frozen foods. So baby brine shrimp, microworms, banana worms, frozen brine shrimp, those kinds of things they do really well on and they eat really well. But if all you're willing to feed is flakes and pellets, don't probably better to not to get this species. Man, that's hard to say. Then it might be better to not consider getting this species, because they really do key into the live foods and frozen foods, and don't, in my experience, recognize prepared foods as something they want to eat. So anyway, that's this cool little species. Can you all hear that? I don't know if you can hear that, but my wife is rehearsing upstairs, so if you hear a little opera, that's her. She's a vocalist. She's amazing. Anyway, I hope you like those black tiger Dario. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'm happy to geek out with you. And if you like this stuff, if you would consider subscribing, liking, hitting the notification bell, and sharing, all that schmaz helps a ton. All right, until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.